This is a 2025 Subaru Forester Touring, the top trim of the 6th generation small SUV from Subaru that's new for this year. The Subaru Forester has been with us since the 90s and yet has stayed remarkably similar in size. In fact, this new Forester is more than an inch shorter than the current generation Honda Civic sedan. There are 5 trims of Forester for 2025: Base, Premium, Sport, Limited, and this Touring model. All 5 trims enjoy a new, stiffer structure and more sound deadening to keep it quieter in the cabin. But what I want to know is, how does this new Subaru Forester drive? Let's find out. I review all kinds of cars and I have fun every time. Please subscribe and join me. The base price for a base 2025 Subaru Forester is $31,115. Buying this top-of-the-line trim raises that price to $41,415. And my test car has no options and it costs exactly that, $41,415. All right, with that, now is a good time for me to pull over and show you around and inside and under the hood of this brand new Forester. Looking at the front of the car, to me, it definitely still looks like a Forester, but a more modern Forester. First of all, we do have this updated star cluster emblem right here, and we do have this new grille with, a lot of interesting shapes built into it. We have these big horizontal slots right here, and then these smaller vertical slots right here. We have this nice polished metal look element right here, and then these gloss black elements as you go lower. Most of the grille is actually blanked out. This is all blanked out, but this is real grille opening in these lower 2 slots here. Then as you keep going lower, you have body color for the bumper, and then more just regular plastic, I'll call it, down low. We also have these fog lights down low and way off to the side. The main beams right here, these are LED headlights now, and that is true for every trim of 2025 Forester. The hood itself has some interesting structure. The hood line comes down and actually becomes the top of the quarter panel in a way, and then we have a fairly clean curve for the hood here, and then a nice hump for the center of it. But I'm still more interested to show you what's underneath it. Well, there you have it, your 2.5 liter flat 4 engine, or boxer engine as Subaru likes to call it. It is 4 aft mounted or front to back like that. The center line of the front axle is right around here, right around where the throttle body meets the intake hose right there. So much of the engine is in front of the axle center line, but because it's 4 aft, you do have the transaxle behind it, not next to it, and some drivetrain for the rear wheels as well. So weight distribution, despite that, is not that bad, and I appreciate that. In the modern era, this is a pretty simple engine, not turbocharged, not hybrid in any way, and the power results do show that. 180 horsepower, 178 pound-feet of torque, but considering the size of this vehicle and everything else, that's respectable. And I must say, there is a joy in simplicity in a lot of ways, so I'm actually pretty happy to see it. Looking at the 6th generation Forester in profile, it definitely still looks like a Forester to me here. You got this tall 2-box kind of a shape. Just looks like it's standing on its hind legs a little bit, an eager little thing. This is the Horizon Blue Pearl paint. This is one of the standard colors, and I think it's a lovely color. And I think that it's a perfectly reasonable shape and profile, especially since this car has been with us for so long now. I will go ahead and put the dimensions up on the screen right now so you can check those out, and I will add another. You get 8.7 inches of ground clearance with the Subaru Forester, solid number, and I'll let you know that I have more information in the description. The base and premium trim Foresters get 17-inch aluminum wheels. If you get a limited, you get 18-inch wheels, but the Sport and this Touring trim get 19-inch aluminum wheels. And I have to say, even with 19s, we still have a respectable 50 series sidewall right here. So it's not super thin. You have a little bit of tire to work with here. And yes, this is a square setup. You have the same size wheel and tire in back as you do in front. Looking at the back of the Subaru, yes, I still think it looks like a traditional Forester in many ways, but it looks perfectly reasonable to me. Subaru is plenty proud to tell you that it's a Forester. It is stamped right into the back of the tailgate, just above the license plate. And I really appreciate that it's a nice and simple single exhaust pipe in the back, just like that. Now, this is stainless steel actually, but it's tucked away and simple, just as it should be. One of the new things for the 6th generation Subaru is actually in the back here. It is a kick sensor for the power tailgate to open automatically and expose all this lovely cargo space you have. It is 28 cubic feet of cargo space behind the second row, and you do have this lovely all-weather Forester mat right here, and beneath it you have a little bit more space. Tug on this right here, and there's a little bit of space right here, like 3 compartments of shelving, and beneath that there is a space saver spare under there. So yes, you do still get a spare tire with your Subaru Forester. The base trim Forester does go without a lot of things that this top touring model has, but because it does not have the panoramic moonroof, you do get more cargo space, 30 cubic feet instead of 28. And if you need more than 28 cubic feet of cargo space, that is very easy to do. Press this button and this button, and these spring-loaded second row seats fold right down for you to give you 69 cubic feet of storage and room for yourself and a passenger. And if you get the base trim, you get even more space, 74 cubic feet. It's also a nice and wide space, and it's reasonably tall. I think it'll be quite easy to fit my bike in here, but let's find out. Oh yeah, low loading floor, plenty wide. The bike slides right in. Yeah, this is a great place to haul a bike around. Let's check out the inside. Because this is a touring model, we get a lovely two-tone brown and black interior. I would prefer a lighter color than black, but I'm glad that it's not all black. I think that does make a big difference. I do have the front seats comfortable for me, and there is plenty of legroom, and the seat bottoms do look pretty high, so let's check that out. And sure enough, the seat bottoms are nice and high, and I do have plenty of legroom. I would say a good 6 inches. I am 5 feet 11 inches or 181 centimeters tall, and even with this panoramic moonroof, I do still have headroom. I'd say about 1 inch, and I also have less than a 90-degree bend in my knees. Because this is a touring model, the 2 outside passengers also get heated seats. We also have a USB Type-C port and a USB Type-A port right there. And of course, we have a center armrest with cup holders and this lovely little rim around the perimeter of it. That's a nice little touch. So yeah, this is actually a very comfortable second row for adults. All right, let's go to the front. Another touring specific trait of the 2025 Subaru Forester are chrome interior door handles, and we do also get leather seating surfaces, but that is true on the Limited as well. We do also have a big bottle holder on the door, the usual controls up higher, and 2-position seat memory as well. We do have powered seats for both the driver and passenger, but the driver gets adjustable lumbar as well. There are a couple of controls to the left of the steering wheel, including another button for the hatch right there. And we do have adjustable tilt and telescope for the steering. It's manually done right there. Most trims of Forester, premium and higher, do get paddle shifters, upshift on the right, downshift on the left. You do also get plenty of controls on the steering wheel, cruise control stuff on the right, although these are your drive modes down here. I'll talk about that in a second. And media controls on the left, and Limited and touring models get a heated steering wheel. Regardless of trim, all Foresters still get analog gauges. You do get a 4.2-inch screen in the center to give you all the pertinent information. Next to that, however, is a portrait-mounted 11.6-inch center display, and that is also on the premium and higher trims. The base trim gets dual 7-inch screens right there, and this does come with wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. The dual 7-inch screens for the base trim has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but it's wired. Push button start is not this guy up here. Down low right here. And there is your instrument cluster lit up and your center display all lit up. At the bottom of the screen, you can see that we have dual zone climate control. That is standard across the board, but it's premium in the higher trims that get heated seats up front, and it's the touring trim alone that gets the ventilated seats as well. All but the base trim gets the wireless smartphone charger, and you also get an auxiliary port and a USB Type-C and USB Type-A port right there in front. That's just ahead of the very standard looking Prindle, and you do have a manual mode. You do have an electric parking brake. Because this is a touring model, we have the surround view camera and a couple of nice deep cup holders and another cigarette plug style electric port right there. Just past that, we do have a nice little shelf for storage and lower center console space right there. Let me show you this surround view camera. If I put it in drive, it shows you the overhead view of what we got, and in reverse, we get the backup view, and you can see the different options we have here. This is the home screen. If I press this one right here to go to vehicle, we do only have sport and regular drive mode, but we do also have this X mode. We have dual mode X mode. So we can choose whether we want snow and dirt or deep snow and mud. We should briefly talk drive modes. They are right here, intelligent or sport, and you'll see that it pops up on the center screen right here. Sport is a more aggressive throttle map, gets you to full power faster. Intelligent is a bit more progressive. We will spend most of our time in intelligent, but we'll definitely play with sport a little bit. But to do that, we need to get back to the drive, so let's do that right now. All right, let's dig into the powertrain. Where does 180 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque come from? Well, it's the same for every Forester, regardless of trim, and as I showed you under the hood, it is a naturally aspirated 2.5-liter flat 4 engine. It has a nice and healthy 12-to-1 compression ratio, and it does use direct fuel injection. But I'm very happy to report that it also happily runs on regular gasoline. The transmission is a continuously variable transmission. In sport and higher trims, there are 8 preset ratios and these paddle shifters to mimic having an 8-speed automatic transmission, but there are definitely no real gears. This is just preset ratios in the CVT. Of course, this is a Subaru. Power does go to all 4 wheels. Now, we do just have the 2 different driving modes, the intelligent mode and the sport mode, but we do also have a manual position for the Prindle, and that allows you to shift gears when you want, and you can do that with the paddle shifters. So I'm currently in whatever gear it thinks I'm in. I'll hit the negative paddle. There's down 1, down 2, down 3. So in that sense, it does function very much like an automatic transmission. And if I floor the accelerator, yeah, that's perfectly reasonable acceleration. Now, we do kind of get some shifts of sort, but we're largely just kind of staying in the power peak of the engine, which is 5,800 RPM, and that's fine by me. And considering that this is a small, compact, reasonably priced SUV, the power you get is totally fine. And that was in the intelligent drive mode. If I shift it to the sport drive mode, downshift, floor the accelerator again, well, you know, pretty much feels the same. All right, but let me do that again, be a little bit more aggressive with the paddle. So downshift, downshift, downshift. Okay, floor the accelerator again. There we go. And then we get the faux shift, and we get, again, pretty decent acceleration and really better response than I expected. Now, all of that was in the manual mode. So if I put it back in D, but leave it in the sport setting between sport and intelligent and floor the accelerator again. Yeah, the engine is pretty fast to change ratios to get to a higher engine speed, and we do get moving pretty well. So the responsiveness of this engine and transmission combination is nice. It's better than I expected, but the linearity is not as good as an automatic transmission. You can notice that in the Forester. If I go to a slower speed, so, 20 miles an hour or so, there's some unevenness in the acceleration. It's not bad, but it's not linear either. One of the advantages of going with the CVT is better fuel economy, and considering the space you get inside this Forester, it is pretty good. You get 25 miles to the gallon in the city, 32 miles to the gallon on the highway, 28 combined. And that's the touring trim. It's the same for the sport trim, but if you get the base, premium, or limited, you actually get 1 mile per gallon better in each category. While fuel economy is very important, it's certainly not as much fun as accelerating. Of course, I had to test that. Let me show you right now. All right, everybody, time for an acceleration test. I do have the Forester in its sport driving mode, and I do also have the traction control off. I'm not expecting any slip, but let's find out. Okay, coming to a complete stop. Bit of brake torque, about 2,300 RPM off brake. Oh, okay. There we go. A bit uneven to get to the power peak, but now we're just hanging out at 5,800 RPM, which is the power peak of this 2.5 liter flat floor. And yeah, we're actually accelerating just fine. Considering that this is a naturally aspirated, no help from hybrid 4-cylinder engine, that's pretty decent acceleration. I'm not super thrilled with the CVT and the non-linearity of the acceleration, but overall, yeah, perfectly reasonable amount of power for this 2025 Subaru Forester. All right, let's dig into the chassis. This new 6th generation Forester does have a new platform it rides on, and that new platform is 10% stiffer torsionally, so it's more resistant to twist. So that just makes it a better, stronger foundation to tune the suspension on. And I have to say that it does feel nice. The ride to handling compromise is well done in my opinion. It feels plenty compliant when you go over bumps and lumps in the road, but it doesn't float, it doesn't waft around or anything like that. It has reasonable body control, and that's especially nice considering that this is basically a tall box. One of the contributors to that added stiffness is Subaru used more structural adhesive with this frame, and they also played around with their welding techniques, they said. The other main thing that Subaru did for this chassis is add more sound deadening material to make it a quieter cabin. I do think it is an improvement over the outgoing Forester, but I wouldn't call it quiet. This is not leading the pack when it comes to the compact SUV category. There is a lot of competition in that category these days. It is competitive, but it isn't leading. Going back to that ride handling compromise, this is a 4-wheel independent suspension. You do have struts up front and actually control arms in the back. Up front, that's an extremely common geometry to have, and in back, honestly, that's fairly common as well. Most suspensions in the back have multi-link suspensions, but those multi-link suspensions generally try to mimic control arms. Overall, I would say Subaru did a great job with the tuning of the suspension of the Forester. It feels good to drive. It feels composed, it's responsive, and yet it's still, as I said, plenty compliant. It is also strong enough to do a little bit of towing. Not much, but a little. According to Subaru, you can tow up to 1,500 pounds with the Forester, and that's regardless of which trim you get, and that makes sense. My guess is the biggest limitation of that is the continuously variable transmission. I would imagine you could get closer to 2,000 pounds otherwise, and whether you're towing or not, this is definitely a more refined Subaru than before, and that is true on roads like this or on the interstate. I did test it there as well. Let me show you that. All right, everybody. time for a quick stint on the interstate. But first, I want to quickly show you the controls for cruise control and the interstate. Of course, we have a lot of driving aids on the Subaru Forester. It's called EyeSight, and that includes active steering control, and that's this button right here. But first, to turn cruise control on and off, it's this one here, and to set the distance for the adaptive part of the cruise control, you increase it with this button, decrease it with this button. Now, once you turn cruise control on, you still need to toggle this down to set the cruise control speed, and you press this to activate the steering stuff. Now, this is a small screen, but you still have this active lane assist kind of screen, so I will show you that once we get moving. So let's get moving. Okay, getting onto the interstate now. I will go ahead and put up all the EyeSight driving aids on the screen so you can check those out, see what's going on. Obviously, we have adaptive cruise control and steering assist. Cruise control is on. Cruise control is set at 78 miles an hour to go with traffic, and steering assist is now active as well. And we're coming up on a curve, so I'll take my hands off the wheel. And sure enough, the car's doing a pretty good job to follow the curve. Yeah, I'd say that's solid work by Subaru there. That's working well. This is a good time to show you what the little screen shows me. So there you can see the lane, you can see that we're centered in the lane, and that there's a little steering wheel there that says active. Now, if I increase the adaptive cruise control distance, you'll see additional lines pop up on the screen right there, and then just lower them down with that other button down there. More fundamentally, at this speed, the engine is spinning at around 2400 RPM and is largely in the background. Nice and quiet flat 4 in this Subaru Forester. And we do have a bit of wind noise. I hear it coming through the window seams here, buffeting against the side view mirror cover, stuff like that. But it's not too intrusive considering everything. And road noise is actually pretty good. But you can still tell that this is a lower cost, mainstream compact SUV. It's a touch on the loud side. That said, the seats are comfortable. I do very much appreciate having the adjustable lumbar support, and the portrait mounted layout of the center display is really nice and easy to read and use. So yeah, all in all, this is a very pleasant highway cruiser, maybe just the tiniest bit on the loud side. All right, I am on pavement, but let me quickly show you the different X modes so you can see what it's like. I'm gonna pull over so we can start from 0 speed. All right, I came to a stop, and once you know it, the road I pulled off on is gravel, even better. Let's try X mode. We're on the home screen, going to vehicle, going to X mode. Currently in normal, accelerate from normal. Okay, I'll go 0 to 20. Yeah, so we got to about 4,000 RPM, accelerated off just fine. All right, let's try dirt. Snow, dirt. Accelerate again. Felt about the same, you know, around 3,500, 4,000 RPM, got up to 20 miles an hour. All right, let's try deep snow / mud. Interesting. It points out right here, traction control is off, and it said right here that we're in the deep snow and mud mode. Accelerating again. Oh yeah, we got higher. We got to 4,500 RPM right there, accelerated off. So when you're in deep snow and mud, you get more engine speed for the same vehicle speed, which means you get a higher torque multiplication, which means you get more torque, more grunt to push through the different type of terrain you're on. That's nice to have. All right, what do I think of this 2025 6th generation Subaru Forester? I have to say, I'm impressed at how well Subaru has stayed true to the original character of the Forester. I remember when it first came out in the late 90s. It was this funky, tall, compact box, almost a station wagon, but technically an SUV kind of a thing. And it's still basically that. What Subaru has done over the years is just incrementally refined it over and over and over. And from the 5th to 6th generation, they did do that again. The structure feels more solid. the ride handling compromise feels better. It is quieter than before, though I'm still not ready to call it quiet. And I'm generally happy with the way it drives. Considering the class of vehicle it is, I think the steering is responsive, I think the front to rear chassis balance is respectable, and I think it drives perfectly well. My biggest gripe when it comes to driving it is the continuously variable transmission. Especially when you're getting heavy on the throttle, it definitely is distinctly non-linear, and that can get a little frustrating at times. On the other hand, this thing is abundantly practical and spacious for 4 adults. 4 adults could fit in here for longer trips even with no trouble at all. Good leg support, good leg room, good shoulder, thigh, everything room. Or you can fit a fair amount of stuff. Bikes fit in a lot of cars, but the ease of getting my bike in and out of this Forester was a testament to the structure of this thing, just being a big, tall box. So it's easy and convenient to carry stuff. And as you saw, we have the dual mode X mode, so you have the flexibility of the different amounts of torque you need to get to the wheels to get through different terrain. That's helpful, that's useful. Yeah, I mean, this thing is not luxurious, it's not refined, and it's not premium quiet, but man, oh man, is it practical and really reasonably priced for what you get. I think that's going to be enticing for a lot of folks, especially those that live in the snow belt. I'm Robin Warner. Thank you very much for watching.